My name is Arianna Urrutia, or Arianna Urrutia. Um, I have a couple fun facts to share with you guys before we begin. I recently started reading a few books which have covered themes of grit and success. Did you know, according to research, those who obtain their master's degree have more grit than those who only obtain a 4-year bachelor's degree? Then, those who obtained an associate's degree are grittier than those who've only completed a 4-year degree. Researchers correlate this because 80% of community college students drop out within the first year. So, if you happen to be one of them, congratulations, you have already beaten the odds and proved that you have grit. So, when we talk about grit and success, I believe we should begin by defining them. Grit is the process of pursuing a goal through a long period of time. A good measurement of one's grit could be seen in the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, are you still doing what you did, what you set out to do 5 years ago? Because that is a true determination of what grit is. People who possess grit constantly remain focused towards of only a few objectives, but they all align. You see, those who possess grit all have one thing in common. They all have direction. Now, success. Everyone has their own definition of success. It could be money. It could be having a child for the very first time. It could be fame. Or it could be moving up in a company. One of my beloved professors, Dr. Kelly, who is an industrial organizational psychologist, for those who are unfamiliar with it, he's basically an environmental workplace psychologist. So he focuses on the well-being in the workplace. Dr. Kelly has successfully argued what the true meaning of success is that I have agreed with. He has argued that success should be defined as a measurement of how happy you are. Because if you measure success by money, we're going to have some conflict there. In 2010, psychologist Daniel Nangus, who won a Nobel Prize in economics, undertook research to ascertain if money played a role in happiness. Do you know what they found? Well, they found that money can buy happiness, but only to a certain point. Can anyone throw out a number, or if you're already familiar with the research, can anyone throw out a number of how much money you have to make a year for you to be happy, and that's like it? Can anyone guess? Well, $95,000. Success cannot buy you happiness after $95,000 a year. After one has earned $95,000, researchers observed a very scattered graph. And what they found was that quick earnings through inheritances or the lottery or a childhood actor or musician are more likely to experience depressive episodes, suicidal ideation, or maladaptive coping mechanisms such as drug dependency. Yet, what researchers also found was wealth acquired gradually through the span of a lifetime, and the funds coming from a good cause or giving the funds back to those who need it were significantly happier and more satisfied with their lives. Today I will be telling you a story. A short story. On August 25th, 2004, two little girls shared a seat on the bus together, headed to their first day of kindergarten. One little girl was white, and the other was Latina. The Latina had tan brown skin, brown hair, and brown eyes. The other girl, whose name was Ashley, possessed blonde hair, blue eyes, and pale skin. As they arrived to school, where they just so happened to be assigned to the same classroom, they all were introduced to their new teacher, Mrs. Nichols. Mrs. Nichols stood in front of the classroom, greeted all the incoming students. However, she paused and looked over at Ashley and said, "Is Nate your father?" She said, "Yes, Nate is my father." And Mrs. Nichols goes, "Your father was a wonderful student. I expect you will be the same. I'm excited to have you in my class." The Latina student walked by, a little jealous of how much attention Ashley just got. However, the school year went on, and the Latina student was constantly receiving disciplinary notices and phone calls home. As Ashley prospered in class, the teacher asked the Latina if she could use her work to show her other classes what not to do. The young Latina was an only daughter to a Mexican immigrant single mother who was recovering from a traumatic failed marriage, attempting to independently pay the bills, care for her young daughter the best way she could manage. The stress of being a single mother piled on of the stress of a teacher constantly calling her about her troubled young daughter. It was just too much to handle. The young Latina was then later diagnosed with a learning disability of ADHD before the age of 11. Now, 4th grade, Ashley's parents disliked her close Latina friend without ever meeting her. You see, the Latina was given a cell phone in 4th grade, and Ashley's parents mocked her mother for giving a young child a cell phone. I mean, this was in the early 2000s. What Ashley's parents didn't know was the Latina was given a cell phone because she didn't have a house phone, and she had to stay home alone, afraid, waiting for her mother to come home. Moving forward, the Latina girl's mother could no longer afford their home. By 5th grade, she moved out of the district, and her mother lived and her mother moved in at her godmother's basement for 1 year. The Latina felt indifferent. She didn't understand why her family could no longer afford a home, or, her mother. So she was put into a new school. She was put into a segregated classroom with English language learners, all Hispanic students. The Latina was grateful for this new opportunity to be in a new school, yet a bit confused on why she was placed in an ELO classroom when she had grown up in America and spoke English perfectly. Maybe she was a little educationally disadvantaged, and instead of assisting her in a normal classroom, the district said, "Yeah, just toss her in with the rest." Now, if you haven't caught on yet, the young Latina girl was me. As I continued through my adolescent school years, my mother and I moved out of the basement into an apartment in the previous district I had started. And I flourished in middle school, awarded honor rolls. I was doing great. Everything was doing great. Well, I get to high school, my freshman year, and I met a boy who was a senior. I was raped at 15 years old by a boy who I had said no to. I had changed my mind. This was not the person I wanted. I said no, it was rape. Shortly thereafter, the rape was so traumatic, I attempted to take my own life. At 15 years old, I wanted to die. Luckily, I was successfully treated with an extensive program for depression and anxiety. Thank you, Medicaid. The years go on, and I end up in the same graduating class as Ashley. I ended up completing high school with a GPA of 1.6. Ashley graduates valedictorian. I continue my educational journey through community college. It's my second year and I'm a freshman. And I'm flourishing again. Flourishing in my studies, doing good while supporting my father who was recently released from prison. On November 27th of 2017, I received a call from my mother about my dad, John, who had recently released. I answered the phone and said, hello? She said, hey, what are you doing right now? And I said, well, I'm about to go meet with a group member. Why? She said, come home. It's an emergency. You have your aunt's phone number. I need it. At the time, my grandmother was severely ill. I expected to hear that my grandmother had passed away. Knowing how delicate my father was during this period, I had prepared a speech to tell him that how I was going to be there for him, how we were going to get through this together. Everything was going to be okay, that you could still do this, you could still make it, and I'm going to help you. Well, it was my father who had passed away from a heroin-intoxicated overdose. Everything I was prepared to tell him, I went to the bathroom, I looked myself in the mirror, and I told myself. Being the only daughter, I had to be the one to make the arrangements at the age of 20. My grandmother passed shortly thereafter. Loss after loss, all those remained in my immediate family was my very hardworking mother. Then, in my senior year of college, I became pregnant with a beautiful baby girl. It took me roughly 5.5 years to finally finish, to finally obtain my bachelor's degree. I will be having a formal ceremony 5 days from now. My goal is to become a doctoral clinical psychologist because I want to help young women like myself. Now, my experience have taught me many life lessons of grit and success, which is that in order to survive in this world in the face of adversity, developing a passion, having a clear direction that align with your goals is your advantage. You see, someone with my background, going through school, I couldn't do it on my own. What I told myself is, you have to do this because there's girls out there that need you. There's girls out there that want you to do this. So, always remain positive. Be kind to yourself. Know if you failed, it's a lesson to remain positive. And it's a lesson to be great again. And that's called having a growth mindset. See problems as challenges that you're ready to take on. Develop healthy coping skills such as running, journaling, reading. Constantly aim to expand your world and your mind. Give yourself thoughts of affirmation. Always believe in yourself and don't let anyone tell you who you are. To end, I want to end with some I am statements. So I want everyone to repeat after me. Okay, so the first is going to say, I am good looking. Am good looking. I am hardworking. Am hardworking. I am courageous. I am capable. I am a blessing to this world and those around me. I am powerful. Powerful.